A random sexual encounter ties into an infamous serial killer's murder spree.
Strange Darling.
Strange Darling was directed by J.T. Mollner, and this was his second feature-length film following Outlaws and Angels from 2016, which I haven't seen. And right off the bat, I gotta say, one interesting aspect of this film was that the cinematography was done by actor Giovanni Ribisi, which I thought was, strange and cool at the same time. I didn't know he was into cinematography work. I looked up, I've known him as an actor for like probably 30 years. He's been around. Looked at his credits and he's done like some music videos, and going from that to this, pretty huge. So Strange Darling centers around the two leads, Willa Fitzgerald and Kyle Gallner, cleverly credited as the lady and the demon. And these credits come at the very beginning, setting up some expectations, although believe me, don't think that you will know what to expect, because you absolutely won't. And I totally loved the opening here. The film was shot on 35mm film, and that's not me pretending to be technical. They proudly display it on the screen to let you know. I was completely fine with that. I mean, not all of us are filmmakers. Not all of us know. I mean, obviously, when you see this, it looks different. It doesn't look like a modern, crisp digital, fake-looking film, which I loved. And I gotta say, I absolutely, I know I already said it, I loved the opening here, with you get this narration. I forget who does the narration, by the way, but it was totally inspired by, obviously, the beginning of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, with, what's his name? John, yeah, the guy, the actor that narrated that, and I can't remember the actor that narrated this, but it was awesome. So you see a shot, and it goes on for a pretty good while, and it's kind of in slow motion, of the lady running through a field, obviously looking distressed, probably being chased by somebody. It's intense. It's very arty. It's just fantastic opening to this film overall. And again, the look of this film is just great. And I mean, this is the type of stuff that I live for. I mean, I grew up watching it, and it's comfort food for me now. When films are shot, well, on film and not shot digitally like, most are nowadays, but you have quite a few indie filmmakers still shooting on film. It's more expensive. It takes more skill. It's kind of become like a retro thing, and I'm totally okay with that. So 35mm film aside, this is a very artsy film if you haven't gotten that impression already. And if that isn't your thing, I mean, I think this movie would be a very hard sell for you. I showed the trailer here on my channel like a month ago, but I still went into this fairly blind because the trailer doesn't give you a lot to work with, which is awesome. It's how trailers should be. And I had already decided that I wanted to see it, but I had no idea that it would be as good as it is. I just kind of thought, oh, that might be okay. I'll check it out. So the film is split up into 6 chapters, and they are non-linear, so it jumps around in a random order, and I totally got Tarantino vibes really almost instantly. Between the storytelling style and J.T. Mollner's dialogue-heavy script, the slow burn vibes, and numerous plot twists, the Tarantino inspiration, I think it's undeniable. So in the beginning, you see a very intense car chase where Kyle Gallner's character is chasing Willa Fitzgerald. It's visceral and intense, and he clearly isn't not going to stop until she's dead. That much is obvious. So I mentioned the storyline being non-linear, so this is the 3rd sequence, if I remember correctly. And Kyle Gallner seems bloodthirsty and ruthless here, and this sets the tone for the rest of the film, but not in the way that you think. By the way, if I seem vague with this review, it's completely intentional because this movie has so many twists, and it would be a huge disservice to spoil any major detail. And this is definitely one of those movies that will leave you thinking about every detail days after you see it. Not necessarily in a way where you're still trying to make sense of it or trying to figure it out, but because there is a lot of thought and detail put into everything. It's a pretty smart script. The attention to detail is just brilliant. And there are a lot of themes here, one being the color schemes. The demon and the lady are typically wearing combinations of black and red, colors that come with a lot of symbolism historically. Everything here is stylized, but never unrealistic or overdone. Never artsy for art's sake, in my opinion. And the story takes place in a modern setting, but I liked the kind of retro modern vibes. I don't know what retro modern means, but I'm still waking up. But like the lady is driving an old Ford Pinto and red, of course, and the demon has a rifle that looks modern, but it's a lever action, and I felt like that was a fitting, albeit minor detail. I don't, I'm not a gun guy. I don't know anything about guns, but I thought it looked cool. I'm just a sucker for things like this because it tells me that the director put a lot of care into his work, even where he didn't really have to. Now, some other themes here are a bit controversial, where JT Mollner walks a fine line, and I have to respect him for taking risks, in an era where you have a lot at stake. Themes like misogyny, victim blaming, and sexism. I also have to give a lot of credit to our two leads here. I've said it before, but when you have a film with very few characters, it puts a lot more pressure on those actors. Any weakness in the performances, become painfully obvious, but you won't find any of that here. It's just flawless across the board, in my opinion. Kyle Gallner is great here, and this is easily one of his best performances yet, and hopefully leads to some bigger roles. I mean, he's been on my radar for a good while now. I think he's been acting for, almost 30 years. But the true highlight of this film, in my opinion, is Willa Fitzgerald. I wasn't previously familiar with her at all, and she gives an incredible performance here, I gotta say. The way that she shows you the different sides to her personality was impressive and really shows her acting range. Like when I reviewed Immaculate a couple of months ago, I praised Sydney Sweeney's performance for the more intense scenes, but I criticized her in the first act. I didn't have that problem here with Willa Fitzgerald at all because she is great in every single scene, regardless of what is asked of her. I mean, she would have been perfect for a movie like Pulp Fiction because her performance here is, I think it's Tarantino worthy. So I'm giving Strange Darling an 8 out of 10. My only real complaint was that I didn't really like the music all that much, but that's a super minor complaint. I wish this could have been a more elaborate review, but saying too much would not have been in your favor. I highly recommend this to fans of thrillers, fans of Quentin Tarantino, and anyone who appreciates the more artsy side of filmmaking. Go check this out in the theater while you still can, or if you still can. I can't imagine it'll be playing for too long in most theaters, so check it out and let me know what you thought if you saw it. I'd love to hear your opinions. I think this will be... I would see this to be a somewhat polarizing film, but the critical reception has been pretty impressive. Actually, people are liking this quite a bit more than I expected. So let me know what you thought if you've seen it. Cheers, guys.